we get to it. The reason for that, in areas of the brain, information will be stored. And when you encounter it again, it will pull all that information back up. Before you even get to it, it is so cool. So, in looking at the tracks, we're going to find commissural tracks from left to right, right to left. I have my projection tracks, meaning I get to project what's in this higher order thinking portion. I get to project that to do something else in my body. So what we find are projection tracks. And then I'm going to end up with my association, which if we look up here, association, we're kind of getting to go from one region to the next. The tracks, these are going to be axons, all right? Meaning those nerve cell bodies with their terminal ends land somewhere else. Those nerve cell bodies, a lot of those will be in the cortex. Now, in looking at our structure of this portion of the brain, we've mentioned the cortex. I was like, think about it being this outer layer of the brain, okay? So that is our cerebral cortex. My area of integration. What does it mean? What is integration?
When cell body communicates better.
When that nerve cell body here we go. One thing I want to point out again, all right? Dendrites, nerve cell body, axon, terminal ends. That nerve, if you remember, the terminal end will meet either a muscle, does everybody remember that? A gland, or another neuron. Now remember, I find a lot of times that when we say muscle, everybody tends to think about our skeletal muscle. But don't forget, we've got 3 different types. Skeletal, smooth, cardiac. So, this terminal end meets either muscle, gland, or another neuron. If it meets another neuron, it meets it here on the dendrites. Right? So, integration would mean that I'm getting to pass the product that cell made to this one. And then from this one to whatever it connects to. Okay? Because this is my area of a synapse Does everybody remember that? And when the product from that nerve cell gets released, it gets released into the synapse, and on my dendrites here, I would be able to accept it. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so my integration would be in these areas. Okay, the ability to pass that information. So if we're now looking at this part of the brain that is going to be concerned with something voluntary, okay, it's going to be areas of the cortex that are going to let me think about it, determine the way to do it, and then send the messages to carry it out. All right? So, we have our cerebral cortex that will help me do this. Does like a covering over that cerebrum. We have cells that are present. They can receive sensory information. They can process information. We have another type of cell. They're stellate and pyramidal. Is telling me their shape. Okay? Stellate makes you think about stellar, which is a star. Okay? Pyramidal hopefully makes you think about pyramid. Okay? So stellate can receive, pyramids can do the output. So we've got those cells in the cortex, and then their fibers can connect to other parts of the brain, the cerebral areas.
The stellate cells, is that just like the type of cell, or is that the same one that you were showing us earlier that's to like filter out?
Their structure will be similar, but they're now a neuron, not a glial cell.
Okay.
Okay? And you're probably thinking about that astrocyte, okay? Because it looked like a star. That was the glial cell that's, and the name astrocyte lets us know it's glial. Glial. Stellate is going to be in that gray matter of the cortex. So it's going to be a neuron. Another area that we have that will help us, hopefully, carry out our voluntary activities is our limbic system. This is one that we know, okay, do you guys remember us mentioning the cingulate gyrus? The singular, the one, okay, cross. But we also have an area of the brain known as the hippocampus, and then we have an area known as the amygdala. The goal of these areas, what we're learning about the limbic system, this is an area that is involved in emotions and learning. Now, the system, however, it's not always a voluntary response that we're given, okay? It can affect activities that we're consciously doing, but it may not be a proper response that's given. All right? This system has centers for gratification, whatever you want to assume with that word, okay? Aversion, once again, whatever you want to go with that word. Pleasure, reward, fear, and sorrow. But it doesn't mean that the proper response will always be given. Have you ever known someone who, if someone falls, they always laugh at them? Okay? Or they may cry at a time when should be happy. Okay? They could actually have a lesion in this area of the brain, causing them to not have the proper response at the proper time. Okay? Under normal conditions, this area will be involved in making sure we laugh when we're supposed to, cry when we're supposed to, under proper conditions. Then we've got some nuclei, areas of dense nerve cell bodies, basal, referring to the fact that they're like a base, okay? They're gray matter that are going to be like buried just deep within the white matter. They'll look like something just got dropped at that point. But they help us with motor control. Helping us, for example, make the decision to write a note. Helping us make the decision to get up to go out the door when we need to. As we're sitting here right now, come, let's see, like 10:20, when we have our break, how is it that your body is ready to get up out of the seat and go out the door? You're already thinking about it. You don't have to be focused on it. You're already thinking about it. You're already thinking about, well, when I leave here, I got to go by the grocery store and pick up something for dinner. When I leave here, I got to go to work. When I go to work, I've got to unload 500 boxes. Do you see where I'm going? You're already thinking about it. That is already making little neurons fire. So your muscles, if you remember, skeletal muscle keeps tone, meaning a little bit of electricity, so that when you need to actually carry out that command you want to give it, it's ready to go. Y'all learned about muscle tone in first part, right? The electricity of the muscles. Okay. Now it's your frontal area that's going to let you make that conscious decision to get up from the chair, and move. Because you're already thinking about it. You've already got little neurons firing. So this part of the brain, it is referred to as higher order functions. Higher brain functions that we have. These functions are sleep, memory, cognition, emotion, sensation, motor control, language, but we are dependent on these areas associated.